A different nature speaks to the camera than speaks to the eye. Walter Benjamin. In this episode, Tessa and I will test this Zeiss Biotar 5.8 cm f2 and see how it performs. We will also give it our CLV score at the end, so keep watching for that. But first things first, let's start with its features and handling. The lens was introduced in 1936, although this particular copy is from 1949. I don't think I'll be testing an older lens anytime soon. In the future, perhaps one of the Helios 44 models, which are based on this lens. It has 6 elements in 4 groups. Starting in 1939, a single-layer coating was offered for an additional charge. This later became standard and is indicated by this red T. The aperture closes down to f22 and has no click stops. For some reason though, it turns in the opposite direction of the focus ring. It has 17 blades, the minimum focus distance is a fairly long 90 centimeters, and the filter diameter is 40.5 millimeters. Its weight is 145 grams. Both the aperture ring and the focus ring have a pleasantly firm feel when turned, so focusing works quite well despite the small size of the lens. What also helps is the focus throw of 240 degrees. We will be testing the lens on the Sony A7III and this Fuji GFX50S. On the Fuji, it's equivalent to a full-frame lens with a focal length of roughly 45 mm and a maximum aperture of f1.6. We begin our tests with distortion and vignetting on this Adobe camera calibration chart. There's virtually no distortion, and vignetting is also lower than expected given the small size of the lens. At f4, it's already gone. When we look at lateral chromatic aberration, it's a pretty good sight too, because there aren't any. Nice. The situation is different with longitudinal chromatic aberration, which are quite visible and only disappear at f8. As for color fringing, however, the situation is much better. Only a subtle orange-purple haze is visible at f2. Given its small size, I really didn't expect this, but the lens fits the GFX sensor perfectly. There isn't even a hint of a dark corner. Back to the A7, let's have a look at sharpness at infinity and in the middle of the frame. It's already very good wide open, only contrast is a bit low. It remains just as or slightly sharper before it starts to drop off at f22. The reason, of course, is diffraction. Unfortunately, halfway to the corner, we already notice a significant drop in sharpness, but at least there's a jump at a 5.6 where we achieve very good sharpness. Now the same sequence for the corner. The results here are worse again, but at least it still achieves very good sharpness at f11. When it comes to sharpness at the minimum focusing distance, we see a slightly soft image in the center of the frame at f2 and f2.8. However, starting at f4, sharpness is very good and remains so up to f11. At f16, the image becomes slightly softer again. In the image corners, however, we see a noticeable drop in sharpness. Good sharpness is only achieved at f11. The last of the sharpness tests looks at a typical portrait distance. Wide open and at f2.8 it's a little soft again, while from f4 to f16 we can observe very good sharpness. The bokeh is beautifully creamy and soft in the center of the frame, but becomes rougher towards the edges. Some people like the swirling effect, but I'm not a fan. Stopping down at least reduces it. One reason for this effect is likely the field curvature, which is particularly noticeable on the GFX. To wrap up the technical tests, let's now take a look at coma and sunstars. Coma is quite pronounced at f2 and f2.8, but under control from f4 on. The sunstars that then begin to form are neither distinct nor regular. Unfortunately, that's the result of having so many aperture blades. Now we're going to have a look at some sample shots I shot with this lens. Some of them were taken with the Sony, but most of them with the Fuji. Please enjoy. And now for the CLV score. For handling and features, it's a 6. For aberrations, an 8. That's a first. Its sharpness is a solid 5. The bokeh a 7. For the sunstars, we give it a 2. Its used price varies quite a bit, but it's usually between 200 and 300 euros, which is still fine. 33 out of 60 points may not seem like much, but it's still remarkable for a lens that is 30 or 40 years older than most lenses on this list. By the way, the link to the full table is in the description. Thanks for watching everyone, and please consider liking and subscribing.